And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 14th of April 2026, Tuesday. And let's just start. We already have Docker container. If Docker was running, Docker daemon has to run, or you could call it the Docker server to which this Docker CLI talks to. So yep, we have the Docker image for backend, front end, and Nginx and TUI. But front end one does not make sense because there is nothing running the front end is just a index.html file which is being served by nginx. So yep, nothing special there. Cool. So let's run this thing locally, and what people do use is docker compose when they are trying to run a project locally. So let's write up docker compose. Okay, that would be cool. Let's see, we first have to figure out what docker composes or makes multiple docker images and then launches them with the correct environment variables and everything. So cool. And the plus side of that would be anyone can just then run the docker compose and they will be able to access everything. Cool. We pretty much have defined everything here for docker compose. For docker compose, we just have to put in the environment variables, and this thing that we have used here, two prompts or like more than one prompts, it has a name. Yesterday I came to know that this thing has a legit name. Let's ask Claude about this fact, or you could say this method of using multiple fronts in the same docker file. What does that do? In this, and shit, I did change the, yep, I did change everything. In this docker file there are multiple from, shit, I think we can even write inline code here, or we cannot. We can, shit, we can write inline code. There are multiple from statements. What does this mean? Explain. This is called multi-stage docker build in docker. Each from statement starts a new build stage. Each from statement starts a new build stage and they can be independent or built upon each other. This is called multi-stage build. Okay, multi-stage build. Here's what is happening in this stage one. Multi-stage, cool. Makes sense. Stage one base, this is the foundation. It installs all the dependencies and copies all source code. Shit, I think we don't even have to write our go code in the separate in its own app folder. We can write the go docker file, go tui docker file right here in this main docker file. That would be cool. All source code, other stages reference. Okay, backend starts from base image, so it already has installed all the things. Okay, cool. And when we have a from statement, all the rest of the statements are executed in that from till another from is written. That is a question. Hello, water. How are you? Oh, you are in your third year. That is pretty cool. What are the things that you do? Do you do development or competitive programming, or you just like randomly watch random people on YouTube? Exactly right. From state starts a new stage. Okay, and all the instructions below it belong to that stage until the next from is encountered or 5 lines. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, and this same Docker file can be used to build any of the stages given when using the build command. We can build any of the stages, and this can also be used as a single file containing multiple stages which are independent of each other, so that we have all the Docker builds in the same file. Is that what you do? Hello. Okay, Project Hail Mary. I heard it is like pretty cool. A friend of mine watched it. Project Hail Mary, and they are not putting it in IMAX. They are just putting it in a regular theater when it is purpose built for IMAX. Shit, you are watching Project Hail Mary and you are also watching YouTube. Is it not interesting enough? It's exactly both of these are valid use cases. Yep, we can define all of our Docker images in the same Docker file, and then when we are building, give it the target, whatever we want to build. Okay, this is called multi-stage Docker build. Each command only builds up the specified stage. Cool. Won't bother running the frontend or Nginx. Cool. As a single file for all your services. This is actually a common pattern. Okay, okay, this is how we do things. Okay, exactly like your setup with apps. How does Claude know that I have a apps directory in which there is backend and frontend? Privacy is gone. Instead of having a separate, because okay, because from this Docker file, I sent it this thing from here. Yep, apps.backend and apps and frontend. Okay, Cloud knows this from here. Okay, and instead of having a separate Docker file scattered around, you keep everything in one place. It acts almost like a Docker compose.yaml without a YML, but at the build level. One thing worth noting though, the stages aren't fully independent in your case. Yes, cool. LAI. Shit, loser AI. Okay, cool. So we have things. Three things. We have backend, frontend, and UI. Just these three things which we want to serve, and we can put all of them in the same Docker file in the root. Cool. CD apps UI Docker file. We can just like copy this and put this here as a separate stage. Command, do we want to give command? Nope. Yep, this command is for this Nginx image, and here we start defining another one. Yep, we can call this as UI. Cool, this works. Work directory, copy all this, but the path is wrong. Copy app slash UI slash go mod copy it right here in the root apps/dy/this. Go mod tidy. Cool. Exposes this thing, exposes port 22, works on port 22, and copy everything from apps ty to the current folder. Go run, go build the binary, and then run it when the container starts. I think that is cool. That is cool. Now here we have this base image, which simply does bun install for the backend and the front end. Cool, and nothing fancy. And then for backend, we use that base image and just like start running the backend. Cool, using bun, because we don't have to compile. Bun can execute TypeScript code directly, so that is cool. And then for the front end build, we install TypeScript, and then we build the front end, literally build the front end, and then we use that. We use a Nginx image, and we copy the index.html file, and also the, you could say, Nginx configuration file, and start Nginx, and Nginx starts serving the front end index.html file. Cool. And then here we are defining building the TUI. That works. Cool. Okay, cool. We have one container for Nginx, one for the backend, and one here for the Go TUI. Cool. Cool. Now let's see if this works. Docker image ls. We will first delete all of these images, remove backend. That is how we do it. Docker remove front end and Nginx and UI. Docker image ls, front end is still there, everything is still there. Docker remove, Docker image remove RMI backend. Is any process? Yes, so there are some processes running. Docker kill this D25 process. Docker remove this D25 process. Docker image list, and Docker RMI to remove images. We want to remove the front end image, Nginx image, and TUI. And then Docker image ls. Yep, everything is gone. Let's also delete this one. Image remove 0039. Docker image ls. All the images are gone. Okay. Now Docker build. We have three things that we want to build: the TUI, the backend, and the Nginx. Docker build target backend and tag, that is the name of the image, and from where the Docker file is. Docker file is in the current folder, so this that is going to build the backend image, hopefully correctly. From the same multi-stage Docker build. And so backend image is ready, and target Nginx, tag Nginx from the current folder. Cool. This is going to copy this installed TypeScript, and is now building the front end so that it can be served from Nginx. That is also built. We have built two images, backend and Nginx, and now the TUI image. Docker build target TUI, tag TUI from the current folder. Cool. Installing all the packages. This might fail maybe because of the way that we are copying stuff, but no. Cool. So we have 3 images. Okay, and Docker network. These, there are two ways to connect all of these together. Either we connect them through network or give them absolute URLs. Let's first connect them through network. We already have this network SHA, which we are going to use to connect all of these, all three of these. Docker run in detached mode. Network is SHA and name backend. First we will start running the backend. And anything else? Nope. The name of the image backend. Cool. It is running now. Docker run in detached mode. Network SHA, the name of the network, name TY, and the name of the image TY. And we also want to expose some port from this TY. We will export port 2424. It will correspond to the port number 22 in the container. Okay, that is running. Docker run network SHA name Nginx. Port from Nginx we will export port 1234, let's say, and it will correspond to port 80 inside the container. And the name of the image Nginx. Docker, yes, the processes which are running, all of them are running. We can go to Nginx at port 1234. Localhost port 1234. Cool. The image is not loading properly. Allow. Cool. Let's create an account. Hello. Password. There is some error. Docker logs backend. Docker logs Nginx. Okay, all of these, and they don't seem like to be an error. I guess the event database is not running right now. This is running though, and this is running from Docker, which is pretty cool. Okay, database is running, so there is no problem with the database. There is no problem in the database. Let's could not create account. What is the error? This localhost. Okay, shit. Why is this going to localhost? Localhost. Okay. Makes sense. There is nothing running on localhost this address. Cool. But if we were makes so much sense. We just have index.html file, and after this point, if all the code that we could have is already here, and if we were to connect this front end with the back end and give there the URL from within the Docker network, that would not work because our browser does not know what our browser thinks that localhost is the host machine, but we cannot connect these things through the Docker network. We have to have something else. We want the backend to expose a port on the host machine, which means Docker kill backend, Docker remove backend, Docker run in detached mode, target network SHA name backend and exposed. a port 2222 on the host machine would correspond to port 2222 on the local machine, and the name of the image is backend. And now if we try to create an account, hello, okay, cool, we are able to create account now. Cool, makes sense, that does work. Okay, we can have another one here. Localhost 2034 allow, and this asks for your location, because if you go to the root, there is earth, like literally there is earth, and the place where you are at right now is the one which is like which glows up, so that is pretty cool. And let's here also create another account, or we can use already an account, thorfinn00, whose password is thorfinn00 password. Login, I guess password is wrong. So create another account, hello 1234, and password. Cool. And we can start a game with a random color, rapid game, no increment. Start finding opponent, cool. And you can play a game like this, pretty cool. And it is white player stance. We can go through the whole game and even change the colors like this. This looks much better, dark mode. And it is black player's chance. Let's go through the whole game and do checkmate. We'll checkmate the black player because racist stuff. You want to go there? Shit, black is going to checkmate. We will checkmate the black player. Shit, how? And the white player goes there, and the black player does not actually do anything. The white player goes there, the black player does this. Okay, the moves just keep increasing. They should like roll or something. Okay, and also you see the name of the other player is hello, and also you can like switch the POV, and by sheer coincidence the queens are at the same square. That is crazy, by sheer coincidence. Okay, and now it is white's move, and this is like almost checkmate. Oh, checkmate. The winner is white. We just have to make this screen a bit more beautiful. Yo, hello Kakashi. And this thing is running. Okay, Kakashi, today I will like make this thing available to anyone who wants to play this, or also wants to set this up locally. By the containers are ready, the Docker containers are ready. I just have to make a Docker compose file. Docker compose and Docker compose. This Docker compose file is a single file which makes multiple images and starts them with the correct environment variables. We already have the Docker file describing the images. You just have to run them. Why compose, how compose works, install. Wait, Docker compose is a totally different thing. Okay, shit. Docker Compose is a whole new thing. Install on Mac. Shit. Documents. Wait, this is just installing Docker. Docker Compose commands. Then Docker Compose up d build help. Okay, learn X. This might have Docker Compose. No, this just has Docker file. The Docker file. Yep. Docker CLI and the Docker file formatting. Docker Compose file reference. Okay, this is a basic Docker Compose file. This is written in YAML and the name is compose.yaml. A typical compose.yaml file. Okay, yeah. Services. We want 3 services. Nginx. Say first we'll start the backend. Build image from local Docker file. Yep, the ports that we want to be available. 2222 would correspond to 2222. Depends on DB. No, does not depend on DB. Shit, you do need a database either. And shit, I do not want the database. This needs a database. Shit, I think you should be able to start a local Postgres database when someone is working on this locally, and when they are not, they should be able to connect to the actual database. Yep, AWS. Hello. I just created a small PR in your shade. Okay, feel free to check it out. No major changes, just minor ones. Just one change. Okay, what did he do? So it's shit. There is an actual PR. Okay. Okay, wait. It got rejected or it is still open. That is why it is red. Okay. Switched to with package syntax. Removed duplicate packages. Okay, there were duplicate packages. What are the changes? Okay, you did this and it was like this before with packages. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. So that everything that is inside pkgs is available in this scope. This is like C++ using stdio, something like this, using namespace stdio. Okay, that is one change, and you removed the thing. Cool. Shit. Okay, how do I merge this? Close merge pull request. Pretty nice with smile. Cool, let's go. I am a maintainer now. Yo. Cool. So this is merged now and should be visible here. Yo. Play.nix. Okay, that is good. That is good. I guess I'll do a stream on this tomorrow to add configuration for the packages which are installed, and also remove the packages which are not needed. Like gh is needed to log into GitHub. I had to download gh, some packages like what lolcat is used to just do cat a file but with gradient, like lol cat docker file, and this just prints the file with gradient colors. Oh yes, you are a contributor, like active contributor, member of the society. Cool. And also I want to figure out how I can use the same thing for a Linux system, because this is putting this on Darwin config. Maybe, yep, I have to return something else depending on the system. I think there is a hardware file which checks what the thing is, and I just arranged the packages. Shit, how did you do that? Like individually, or how did you arrange the packages in alphabetical order? Shit, I hope you didn't go through and manually do this. Would have been crazy. Okay, docker file, docker compose file, database. Shit. Docker compose dot yaml. No. Give target to compose, docker compose file. Shit, makes sense. Makes sense. Context. Docker file, docker file. A bash script for arranging these. Okay, that is cool. Okay. Bash. Cool. So we want to build this. Build context is this current folder, and docker file. It was docker file. Docker file is the docker file right here. And what is the error? Property context is not allowed. Property docker file is not allowed. Build. Okay, shit, inside build. Yep, makes sense. Context is this. For into the build command, we are giving the context. What is the context? And where is the docker file? Cool. And also target is backend for this. Cool. The ports that we want to be make available, and this does not depend on anything. The database, for the actual production application, there is a database somewhere in the internet, but if someone is running this locally, they should be able to run a local database. I guess we have to create another image for database. The database is Postgres. I guess we should give environment variables here so that the database can decide which database to connect to. Okay, and environment. Compose will always, okay, so we can like legit just give the database URL. Cool, makes sense. I think using .env file is obsolete when using Docker containers, because there are now two ways. If I put in a .env file, that .env file will be picked up by Bun and would be made available to the service, JavaScript service that is running. That is one way of making environment variables, and another is like when we are actually running the container, give the environment variables there. So in case when we are using Docker, it is more standard to not have an environment file and give the environment variables like this. Is to not have a .env file and instead provide all the env variables, provide all the env variables in the run command for the container, and for development have them defined in the Docker compose file. I think that is how we do things now, standard. Okay, shit, that is how we do things. In production, no .env file environment variables are injected at runtime. The reason you avoid .env file in production is security. You don't want secrets baked into the image, or yep, sitting on. Yes, makes sense. In development, Docker Compose. Okay, we can give in an env file like this, or we could give inline env, which inline environment variables, which looks better. So let me hide my screen for a bit so that I can just see the environment variables which are needed by the backend. Where are the environment variables? Here. Okay, cool. Let me just hide my screen because it has my database password and stuff. There is nothing important there, but it's still cool. Just 1 second. Host username. Okay, it's done. Let me show my screen. Cool. These are the environment variables which are needed by the backend to run database URL. If we are running Docker Compose, this is the database URL that should run. It needs host, host, port. Okay, what is the backend actually using? Database, actual database.ts to make the connection. Gets all these, all the stuff. Process.env instead of one. Process.env. Or we could use vim substitute capital 1 with process globally. Cool. Okay, everything is needed from here. And if there is no port, use port number 5432. Port 5432 and not this 432. Okay, host, what should we give the host name if the Postgres is running locally? No. Here, first of all, indent, and then substitute equal to with colon space. Cool. Port 5432, 5432, that is the port. Database is chess, the name of the database, and password. Okay, all the rest of the things you will have to see how to put them or run them in the Postgres image. Postgres Docker image. Okay, we'll use a small one. Alpine Postgres is the name and tag is this. Okay, environment Postgres. Okay, shit. What are the things that we need to pass in as the environment variables? Quick reference. Name. Password. My secret password. Database. Restart always. Set shared memory limit when using Docker. Volumes. We are not printing volumes. Password. Let's just password. What should be the host name? We know the database URL is going to be this, and this part is, I think, shit, host. This is the host name. This here is the host name. This is the username, and this is the database name. Cool. Database host name is just Postgres. Postgres username is ach sha. Okay, and cool. So how do we tell this image which database to create and then connect it to? Yo, you should change your environmental features to list Nginx command leaks instead of a string. Both work, but the list form is the proper Nginx way. Wait, what? This environment experimental features. Where? For experimental, if you are referring to, I mean, you are referring to experimental features. They are in dot aliases. Yep. Okay, instead of this, the next way is this. But if you are referring to this, how do you know that I was not using this this format? Because this is not available on the internet in your fleek.nix file. Wait, this is also there. Okay, okay, shit. This is telling the Mac OS like turn on the experimental features. That's cool. That is cool. I still have to learn a lot in this next thing. Thank you for that. Go back. Cool. Docker compose. Here. Okay, now we want to tell our Postgres database to create a user with this specified name and a database with the name chess. To create a database in local Docker Postgres image or container. Container makes more sense. How to use Docker official image or this environment variable. Oh shit, we just pass this password, but cool. DB. guess we can just also give the username here. User sharp, and anything else? No. Host is host. Do we provide host? Host auth. Okay, what is the host name? Host name is the name of the machine on which this is running, or the user is running. Okay, let's see. I guess this should work. If we run this YAML file, it should work. This depends on DB. This is a list. This is how you define a list in YAML. This is how you define a list in YAML code. Okay. Let's also define other services. There is Nginx. Build context is this. Dockerfile is dockerfile, and target is Nginx in that Dockerfile. Ports, we want some ports to be available. Yep, 8080. I think we can even remove this and this should work. Yeah. We want ports to be available, and anything else in the next command when we ran docker run network. No, we will not use network. We will not use network because we are exposing port 22 locally on the host machine. That is what we will be using. Docker compose cool Nginx and port any environment, no environment variables depends on this. Yes, this does depend on this. Depends on backend. Backend should run, and only after that Nginx should run. And now the TY. And also we have to change the network settings. If we are running this using Docker Compose, then this Nginx should use localhost. Well, this should anyway use localhost for the backend to be able to hit. Yeah. Build context dockerfile, current dockerfile depends on backend. This does depend on backend, and we want some ports to be available. Yes, we want ports to be available, and port is, for now, let's say on the container, port number 22 should correspond to port number 1234 on the host machine. That makes sense. Can you increase audio a little bit? Shit. Okay, my bad. System. Hello. Is it better? Shit, my network is not very good, but I think now it is better. The audio. Thank you for pointing it out. EC0 underscore. Shit, that is not 0_0. That is face with eyes. All set except all set except I'm missing something something is missing. It is the Nginx file. This. Yep. Reverse proxy localhost colon 2000. Cool. At max, this many connections can be there, 1000. And for the HTTP protocol, include MIME types. It is needed because when the browser asks for JavaScript file and Nginx is serving the JavaScript file, inside the HTTP header there is a key called content type, which should match the type of the file. But if you do not have this MIME types, and this MIME types is a file which tells Nginx if the extension at the end of the file name is .js, then that is a JavaScript file. So, but if this MIME types is not included in Nginx, then when Nginx is sending your JavaScript file to the browser, Nginx will tell the browser that this is a plain text file, and the browser will not execute that file because Nginx is telling the browser that this is a text file. So yep, that is why MIME types are included here. And server. Start a server if the port is ATT, either IPv4 or IPv6, and the name of the server is this, like the place which you are trying to reach is this. Then yep, forward proxy, like send the request to localhost 2222, forward request to the backend server, and forward the headers. And we need this upgrade connection because we want the HTTP server to also be able to make a WebSocket connection, which is called upgrading from a HTTP connection to a WebSocket connection. Cool. And for the front end, if someone visits sha.walrus.codes, then serve them the index.html file, and if they visit anything else, anything other than this, then do not send them a 404 not found, but instead send them the main website, the like chess website content. Cool. Okay, and I guess we should change in the front end environment variable. Yep, this. We should not use this. This is bad. And this is, I guess, used in a single file, and also in this file, import meta.env. We can just say process dot, why is process not available here? Let's see. You get environment variables in React 8 years old. Okay, set this in .env file and use require.env.config. We use this package, but why don't we have to use this package on Node? I guess because we don't need to use this package in Node because we have a engine which is running, and Node or one installs or like reads the .env file by default and makes them available, but your browser does not. Like, I guess your browser does not even know about the .env file. Finally, add .git. Okay. Contents of the .env file, but cd app frontend one installed. But this is from 8 years ago. There might be a better way to do this now. get env in React. How do we get environment variables in React? Because we should be not dependent on the file. We want to change import dot meta dot env. Okay. Here is this. Okay, how was it before? On import dot meta dot env dot not white backend API URL or URL looks good, or API URL. Okay, cool. And this is not dependent on white. I thought this might be dependent on white backend API URL. And are we using this at any other place? I guess not. White. No, we are not using it in any other file. Cool. So we can remove .env file, and if we are running this from Docker Compose, then shit. Yes. Environment, where does environment go? We want these environment variables to be available at build time, when we are building the image, not when we are running the container. Okay, when does this step happen? I guess this just happens at build time. Shit. Okay, I guess this happens at build time. If this happens at build time, we need a way to make these variables, environment variables, available at build time. Yeah. Okay. Shit. That was Chromium, not Vimium. Does this happen at build time? Not build, but bundling is technically more accurate term. At bundling time, when the final.js file reaches the browser, does this line have import dot meta dot env dot white API URL, or does it have the actual URL, the string? The actual URL gets inlined at bundle time. Okay, so this thing happens at bundle time. When the code reaches the front end, this is what it sees, not this. So we want these to be available at environment at build time, which would mean we would like to make two images, a different image for production and a different image for development. Okay, how do we do that? I'm building my React app in the image, and depending on the environment, this could have the local backend URL or the production one. Yep. How do I think just like the way when we create an image, we are giving a target. I guess we could be able to give environment. No, we cannot. We should be able to give some more stuff. Or yeah, we have to make something somewhere. How do I make different bundles depending on the env? You need .env files for this? No, I do not want .env. .env is always loaded. .env .development this and .env .production. Just create two files and white loads these files. Okay. How do we put this in Docker Compose? env. We will have two environment files, one for development and one for production. And depending on whether we run white dev, this will be loaded, or if we do build, then this will be loaded. Okay, let's do this. I have two files at frontend file name.env .production, and in production database API URL is, I think, backend dot. This is not a dot. We can look at it here in infra, Nginx configuration. Yeah, this is the backend URL. This, just this. And when we use this in lib network here, yep, we put the HTTP by ourselves. Cool. We don't have to put the HTTP there. Cool. .env .development, I guess. And here it would be localhost : 2222. Okay. Here we do have multiple commands. This is the command we are running for build. Scripts. White build mode production. Okay, we just have to pass in mode as production. Dev is white build mode development. And we'll have a build command here which should run. Okay, what does this TACB do? Man, TCL B command, we are looking for B build one or more projects and their dependencies if out of date. Then what is white doing if we are using TSC for building? I guess let's see. White build more production and something else. No, white build more. Cool. So we have one command for development and we have one other command for production. Let's see if this runs. Apps frontend one run build. Okay, it is working. Some things are larger than 500k. After minification, consider using dynamic import to code split the production. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and what do we have? What do we have? ls list. We have all this, and share. We can see what the URL is in this JS file. It is minified. To look at the URL white API URL. Look for, we build this for production. Okay, there is no backend in this whole thing. There are a bunch of callback functions. We are looking for a string. Maybe we cannot look, like maybe this is not the way to look for the string. No, we are looking for this base URL variable. Let's see. Assets JavaScript base URL. Yo, let's go. Base URL t dot base URL, and where are we putting its value? I guess we are just never giving it some value, or we are, but we don't see it. I guess we just don't see it. Localhost HTTP. Okay, let's build this one dev. What did we give the name? One run dev. Okay, that will also build, because that is how we have defined this. This I guess in the minified JSON JavaScript, there is some way that they are putting in the variable. Okay, cool. And we can pass in this at building time. Which part do we want to build? In a Docker image, you would pass the mode at build time. How do we pass in the mode at build time? I guess we can. I guess we can. I guess we can. We can. Yes, I guess we can do this. Multi-staging Docker. That is what we use this for. Okay. One, run, build here, and hopefully there would not be any other build commands. Nope. Build command, build. Nope, and there is no build command in backend. Nope, no build command here, and no build command in the commons folder. Cool. No build command here. Cool. So we know that when we run one build, we are getting the right build. Cool. Docker file. As frontend dev, we will have two stage names. Should be lowercase. Okay. My bad. One install TypeScript and one run build. Like this, run build, and this is how we provide the name. This. What is this? More production syntax. So this is like very strange. We have two hyphens and then two more hyphens. This is a shell convention. That means stop processing my flags, pass everything after this to the sub process. Okay, so in this one npm run build calls whatever script is defined by npm run build. Okay, and then these flags would be given internally. Okay. But we don't need this because we have defined different commands. We don't need this. Build means build, dev means dev. And we want both of these to be available. Build and dev would run the dev command. This is for development and production. Production uses one run build. Cool. And then this Nginx, what to serve? We could have two different Nginx services here. I guess we can. Yep, I guess we should have two different Nginx services. One for the production frontend, building the production frontend, and one for the development frontend. Cool. That makes sense. I just joined the stream and learned something new. Okay, shit, that is cool. Shit, you have prod in your name. Something similar to prod. Cool. So let's build two Nginx servers or images or stage is the correct name. Nginx prodigy. Nginx development, and this uses front-end production. Okay. Vim. I know how to use Vim. Wait. Front end. This is prod. Cool. Let's go. Okay, and this one. Cool. Okay, there. Cool. No error here, and any. Don't think we need to make any other change. Nope. No other change. No other change. No other change. Cool. That is cool. Okay. Docker compose. Here we would not just run normal Nginx. We will run Nginx development one. Docker file target is Nginx dev. Cool. And this depends on backend and also on front end, which cool. This depends. The building of the image depends on front end, not the running of the container. We have to here write what this depends on when the container runs. Cool. I guess we are happy now, or we can call this db is fine. Db is fine. Anything else? Yes, comments are not needed, and the code is clean enough. Backend, we run the backend. To build the backend, the Docker file is right here in the current folder, and target is backend. Cool. And there is just one type of backend, which is backend. Cool. Ports is ports, and when we give here target as backend, when we give backend as the target here, the image which runs is first of all this code runs, which gets a bun image, a Linux image which has bun installed, and it copies all the package.json from the root, from the backend, from the front end, and from the common packages, and does bun install, then copies the rest of the stuff, and then uses this image as the base image for the backend, and we just say that the port number 2222 would be exposed from this, and then we just run the backend apps backend index.js. Cool. This is what happens for the backend, and this depends on the db. This thing first, this container should run, and only then backend would run, and these are the environment variables which are needed by backend. And we would only use Docker Compose for development purposes. For starting up containers in the actual production pipeline, I think you could call it, we will write up CD for that using some GitHub workflow stuff. Cool. That is all backend, and then we want to start the front end, which we are serving using Nginx. Here we have another service. To build this Nginx, use the Docker file from the current folder, and the target is Nginx dev. What is Nginx dev? Here is Nginx dev. This gets Alpine Linux image which has Nginx installed, and then copies all this stuff. First of all, it copies the HTML file for the front end, which was built from the development front end, and here is the development front end. This development front end runs this command. First of all, it installs TypeScript server, and then runs the this thing, development command to build this for development. And then we copy the index.html and all the other files there, and then we also copy default index.html file, which is inside apps infra Nginx index.html. And then also we copy the Nginx configuration and put it at the right place, and the right place is /etc nginx.config. And then we are just saying that we will expose port number 80 from this, and command to run Nginx. This command does not run Nginx because Nginx is already running when we start the container. This command simply tells Nginx to not go in the background, because if Nginx goes in the background and Docker will see that there is no active thing which is running in the foreground, Docker will think that your container is not running anything special and it will turn off your container. So this is here to keep your container running. Cool. So this will serve Nginx. Nginx for development, for production. Cool. And then we run the TUI app, and yes, when the container runs, expose port number 80, or do we want this? No, shit, we do not want port number 1234 on the host machine. The machine which is running the Docker container should correspond to port number 80 inside the container, and this Nginx service depends on the backend. Cool. And then the TUI, build the TUI. The target is TUI. Take the dockerfile from the current container. Cool. And for the TUI, we do all this. First, we get a Linux image which has Go installed in it. We define what is our working directory, main directory, in which everything would be happening. And then we copy from apps/TUI/gomod into the current directory, gomod and go.sum into the current directory. And then we install this like npm install, but in Go. And then we are saying that this thing will expose port number 22. Cool. And then we copy the rest of the app, the rest of the thing, and we build the whole project. And when the container starts, we just run the TUI app. Cool. And then there is the database. To start the database, this you will have to see if it is working or not. Yep, cool. I think this should work, hopefully. Fingers not crossed. Let's see how to start Docker. Compose, help. These are the commands. Docker compose build. I think that is the one we need. Compose build. Build. Okay, everything else is optional. Okay. Resolving dependencies in something. Okay, this should work. This should work. Hopefully. And this single command, docker compose build, should be good enough for anyone to run this thing in development mode, not in production, but in development mode. Okay, we are doing bun install, resolving a lot of dependencies. It is taking about like 1 minute to do. Okay. This is building the front end. Nginx in development mode. Cool. Okay. Docker. Wait, this just builds the image. This does not run the containers, because we just did docker compose build and we didn't run anything. Let's see everything that is running right now. Docker kill backend Nginx and UI. Docker PS. Anything else running? Yep. docker kill92c5 docker psa docker container prone to remove it. Container prone to remove all the containers which are not running right now. Docker ps all the processes which are running, nothing is running. Okay, so we did docker compose build to build all the images, and we do have all the images. Shit. Docker compose built them with this prefix. Okay, how do we start an image? Start all the images with docker compose. Help. Start. Okay, docker compose. This should be very fast because the images are already built. Docker image ls db. Okay, Postgres is not there. Why is Postgres not there? Let's remove all the images and docker rmi remove all the images backend ty nginx star backend star nginx dev star ty. All the images are deleted. Docker image ls, we just have this one random build x image or something. Okay, why didn't we get this thing running? db image is this. Cool, and just like run this. Why didn't this work? How to build a single service in Docker Compose. Let's just try to build this db one. Docker Compose build service name. Okay. Compose build db. No service to build. Docker Compose build backend. Okay, it is building backend. Control C. db build this db. Maybe no maybe db should be building. Compose db not building. Database does not exist. Why docker? Okay. Nope, we don't have our own file container name. Do we want to give container name? Should I guess it would be cool to give them container name, all of them. Container name for this would be backend, and also image name. Container name nginx dev. Do we have image? Yeah, image name build property name is not allowed. Tags, yes. Tags. No, we don't need volumes. tag is different from name. Give name in I guess we just give tags, and this is a list, it seems like dev and Nginx. Okay, I guess this is the name. No, shit. What's the latest? Not like this, but build and image. Name a build image. No, we want to build an image. Specify. No. Give. And give it name in Docker compose. Yep. This thing build this and image this. Path to the directory containing dockerfile. This is the custom tag or image. Okay. Image for this Nginx dev. Cool. Everything else will be same. No change. Container name and image. Backend. Cool. Container name and image. I guess image should come after build. I don't know. Build this container name ty and image would also be named ty with tag latest. Seems cool. Same with this. Latest seems cool. Here also latest. Image is this. Container name db. Postgres. Docker compose build Postgres. Service backend depends on unidentified service. Okay, makes sense because we changed the name of the service. Postgres, are we saying db? Yep. And only there. Docker compose build Postgres. No service to build because you already have the image. Makes sense. Docker start, Docker compose. I think the command was start. Yep. Okay, shit, this was not building because the image is already built on Docker. Cool, makes sense. Docker compose start. This will container name. We give this container name. If we give a container name, that would be the name of the container which runs this. Docker image ls. We don't have the images. Docker esa. What is container name in Docker compose? Compose generates a name in the format in this. Yep. So why is it giving this service? Compose has no container to start. What is this error? This this thing has no container to start. Why is a container needed? Image. Okay. How to use external image in Docker Compose. I think this should be the format if we are not passing in a build. It is the format. Yes, it is the format. And if we are passing in build with the image thing, then we would build an image using this command, and the name of the image would be this. Docker compose start. Postgres has no container to start. Docker compose error, no container to start. Four years ago. Okay. In this Postgres, build, build, build. Build. Let's see. The issue here is that you haven't actually created the containers. You will have to create these containers before running them. You could use Docker Compose up instead. That will create the containers and then start them. Or you could run Docker Compose create to create the containers and then run with them with this. That is creating the containers. Access denied for TY. Something is happening. Okay. Compose. Here when we are saying the image name, it is actually pulling an image from Docker Hub. Docker compose create help. This command creates container for a service. Okay, I guess my understanding of Docker compose is bad. We can fix that. A Docker compose file explains two things: image, where to get the image from, either online, or how to build it if not online, if not from the hub. This is one thing. And second is container. When the image is ready, then how to start the container. How to start the containers, the dependencies, which specifies the order of starting them, the env variables, and the ports or network. Okay, and we have like multiple Docker compose commands. Docker compose builds the images. What does Docker compose start? And Docker compose, docker compose start, docker compose create, and other important commands to judging if this premise is correct. That image and container are the two things which are defined. Good mental model. Okay, let's go. Image phase. Here is how the commands work. Two-phase thinking. Image phase. Docker compose build builds the image from build context in compose file. Okay. Docker container phase. Separate steps. Creates container from images, allocates them, but does not start them. Docker compose starts already created containers. Docker compose stops the running containers. Okay, and shortcuts. Docker compose up does everything, builds if needed, creates, and then starts them in one shot. Okay, Docker compose up build forces a rebuild even if images are already there. Docker compose down stops, removes the containers. Images are kept unless we do remove images all. And then Docker compose run starts a one of container. Okay, Docker compose run. Okay. Shit. PS shows running containers and their status, logs, and do like SSH into them. Okay, cool. So this is like we could say low level commands. Build, docker compose build to build the container, to build the images. Docker compose create to create the container. Docker compose start to start the container. Stop to stop the container. Docker compose up to do the whole step of building. Okay, Docker compose build, this would build the containers or the images, and then we have to do docker compose create to create the containers, and then docker compose start to start the containers after building them from the images which are being built right now. Okay, we have the images. Docker compose create. Okay, this is installing the image for Postgres. Cool. And one more question. If we are building the image locally, if we have given build command in docker compose, how do I name that image? Okay, containers are created. Docker compose start error Nginx port one port something is already running on port 1234. TUI is running on port 1234. Okay, my bad. Docker compose TUI and go away 2323. That should be the port, or 2345 for the TUI. Docker compose stop. Docker compose build the images again from scratch. Context. I thought yes, the image has to come after the build. After you build the image, then you give in the name of the image. But if you wait, but I guess the order should not matter because this is not like CSS. Let's see. Docker compose after the build. We were getting error if we were putting image name before this, but if we put this afterwards, docker compose build backend. Cool. If you put the image name after the build, it works. After the build. like here. Image Nginx dev, and image name is dy latest, and here the image is like already there. Cool. Docker compose build, that should build everything. I have to want to try one thing, because whenever we are building the image for the Nginx, it depends, image for the Nginx depends on the front end being compiled, but or front end being built. But I guess we don't have to do that, and we can cache it actually if we remove this. I guess we don't need. Okay, cool. Now we are seeing that front end is being built, but if we do this one more time, docker compose build, I'm supposing that we will not see this because this will be cached. Docker compose build, and yes, okay, shit. Okay, it is being cached. We were just installing TypeScript server for, not server, TypeScript compiler for nothing. Cool. We have the new images. Docker compose. How do we like remove the containers? What was the command? Docker compose down, stop, and Docker compose. We did build. We have the images. We need to create the containers. Docker compose start the containers. Okay, and if we go to localhost 1234, cool. Are we able to play a match? 1234, allow. I guess we should be logged in here. We are not logged in because when we did login, the URL was not 1234, it was something else. Okay, we can, I forgot the password. It was hello. The password was shit. Yes, I'm entering the wrong password. Create account. Hello 1. Error. Internal server error is crazy. I guess it is because Docker compose logs for backend. Just this. We are getting internal server error. Backend is running and it is exposing port 2222. 2222. Failed. This backend is not able to make a connection to the Postgres server, which is running at port. Shit, we are not exposing the Postgres port. Yes, yeah, we are not exposing the Postgres port. We have to say ports, port is, what is the port? 5432. 5432. It is the port. It is the port 5432. Port 5432. Good. We have to build image. Docker compose build front end is building again. It should not have built it. Okay. Docker compose stop end. What was the command for removing the containers? Down, 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 down. Docker compose create docker compose start the containers. Okay, okay, let's see. Name not an error. Get the latest code. Refresh. Name is unidentified. Undefined. Should be localhost. Name is undefined. I suppose this is a front-end error. I mean, it is a front-end error. Library, network, user, this. Build base URL, docker compose up to build and restart all the images and everything. All the containers. I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member. Okay, shit. I guess I won't have you as a member here. Then you would join this reverse psychology. Attaching to backend Nginx Postgres TY. Shit, moon and drawn moon. What is happening? Docker compose up build yes, build to build the images and restart everything from scratch. And shit, I guess you have been here before, not today, but like some days ago, or maybe even yesterday. Everything is building from scratch again, and we are doing this to see. Okay, these are the logs. Suppose it's undefined. The URL is undefined. URL is undefined. Stop the containers. Wait, if we yes, stop. Containers are stopped. Development database API URL will host, and then in library meta-env backend.api.url, it is undefined. It is even though we have this .env .development. Okay. So now the problem is to that we are not getting environment variables. We're not getting the environment variables that we want. Develop mode is development, development, development. White build development. Are we even getting the latest build? Let's see. Yes, we are getting the latest build because I've never been hurt by what I have not said. I think those are the things which hurt you. Like you are in a situation and then there could be some like Chad reply that you could say, but uh, you don't uh, you don't figure it out at the moment, but later on you think I could have said that other thing, the thing which you didn't say, and then you would be hurt. Or maybe you can take it as a lesson and say, I will think upon saying better things next time when I am in some similar situation. Facts. And words like never are crazy because like nothing is a constant. Shade. This is a sea of variables. A constant in a sea of variables. That is a phrase. In a sea of variables. Shit. Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot. Tyler Wellick and Elliot Alderson. I think you should watch it, or anyone should watch it. Mr. Robot is very good. Back to this, we are not getting environment variables. We are not getting environment variables. Okay, so the only reason for this is that this white program is the one which is supposed to read these files .env .development. I guess we can go to white docs. Okay, environment variables import .meta .env mode, the mode app, base URL, stuff like this, .prod, some built-in constants are available in all cases. Mode string, the mode that the app is running on, production or development, I think, and base URL, string base URL. The app is being served from. This is determined by the base config. Okay, meta prod boolean yes or no, whether the app is running in production, which could also be seen by mode, I think, and dev, whether the app is running in development or not. Okay, whether the app is running in development, always opposite of production, and environment variables plus codes. We need these if we have a file like this, and if you do void sum key and db pass. Okay, yes, this is the problem. We are getting undefined here. We have to prefix the environment variables with white. The phrased value of this equal to this will be exposed on the client, but the value will not be. You can test this. Yes, we did test this and we got undefined. Yeah, we got undefined. Trust me. If you want to customize the env prefix, we can set this option. Okay, we have to just say white underscore before this. Okay, and we can change this if we want from here. Let's change this to just check out. stuff. Define prefix env prefix. Default is this. Okay, where do we define this? Type is going to be string. Define config. Do we define this here? env. We do define this here. Cool. This is going to be env underscore, or some cool reference from somewhere. Sadaharu from Gintama. Sadaharu underscore. And here we just have to say Sadaharu, and the same here. Cool. That should work. This should pick up the environment variables. We should be happy. Docker compose, build the images again from scratch. By reading the Docker compose file. This is building the front end again because we made changes in the front end. Okay. Docker compose. We want to stop the running containers, and the command for that is down. Not just stop and then remove them from their stopped mode also. Docker compose create to create containers from these images. Docker compose start to start the containers that we just created. Okay. 4 is phone charging. Phone is charging. Cool. If we go to local host 1234, we do see this. Okay. Localhost 1234. Login. Let's. Hello. Wrong password, I suppose, or at least localhost is correct. Localhost is correct, but the server is not responding. Let's add a console.log statement on the server whenever someone to see if a request is coming or not. I always bring some codes on your stream daily. Okay, that is cool. Like yesterday, I wrote that code on trouble. Yes, if you trouble, then you trouble something. I took a screenshot. I have a question related to an idea that I had, and I want your suggestion. Okay, if I'm competent enough, I will say something. So it is that I like to read about founders and startups popping around the world and in India, and I want to use that information that I'm gaining to build a product around it. So should I maybe start a newsletter or something else? What do you think can be a better? Okay, you can start a newsletter. You can promote it through your Instagram. You can create an Instagram just for that, promote it, create shorts around your newsletter, create a website. You can create a website with AI, very basic website without a backend, just a simple front end. Yeah, like, yep, just do it. If you don't have a solid reason to not do it, then don't. But if you don't have a solid reason to not do this, then do this. Otherwise, you would just keep making excuses. Okay, let's add a log on the back end. whenever any request comes in. My suspicion is that we are not able to make a connection with Postgres. This here is problem. This here is problem, and we deleted the .env file from here. Shit. Wait, no. env file is here. This is the actual like secret env file. Rename this to secret .env .very. Okay, so that this would not be loaded in the backend, and only the variables which we are passing here in Docker Compose would be visible. Okay, let's see if if this Postgres server is running or not. How do we see if a Postgres server is running or not? Like this, Postman would be cool to see. Okay, let's go. No excuses, for real. Postman. Good. Copy this, paste, and connect to local Postman server. How do we connect to local? Share from the CLI. We connect to the CLI. Oh, okay, we can connect from Postman also. HTTP localhost. Basic connect. Shit, not Postgres or Postgre. CLI, from the CLI. Open your terminal and run psql ps. We have to install psql, and let's go to install psql. Worst thing that can happen is that I will learn how to market my product. Yes, you will learn something. Something is always better than nothing. Okay, and to install package, we have to change our configuration here. But shit, I should not change configuration here because someone made a pull request on GitHub on this repository. So first of all, I should pull that. It generally git. Okay, now there is a problem. The problem is the local and the GitHub repository are out of sync. They have branched off. Okay. We should add and pull and git rebase and push. Git add, git. Wait, what did we even do? Git diff flakes flake.nix. Git. How do we remove something from stage? Git reset stage. Shit. Restore, I think. Git restore staged. Okay, cool. Okay, and now git status. Yep, it is unstaged. Git diff and Okay, we just added this line. That is fine. Git and git commit with message added TLDR package git push or git pull. Now there will be conflict. Yep, git status, there is a conflict. Git config git config pull rebase true to rebase by default. Now git pull rebase. Okay, now yep, we are in some like random branch. We have to fix this. Yep, head. Remove all this till this line. Cool, and shit. ELD. Just add this package here, and we can remove everything here. No merge conflicts now. And status to see what do we do now. Git, yeah, I guess we just have to make a, yes, we have to make a commit. Git and commit m added TLDR. Okay, git status, everything cool. Yes, we have to git rebase continue to continue. Cool, and we are back on the main branch. Git push region main. This will ask for password. And cool, GitHub menu NginX. Shit, we didn't add the package which we needed. Shit, your name is Anime, by the way. That is like crazy. From Delhi in your second year, second semester. You are from IIT Delhi. If you are, that is crazy. And hello, Anime. Animesh. Crazy name. And what was the thing that we needed? PSQL. We needed PSQL. We can look for it on the Nginx package store. Nginx search Nginx pkgs. We are looking for PSQL. PSQL is there. Cool. PSQL is there. So we can just do flake.nix and here. Okay, shit, there are two things for install PSQL NixOS. So shit, not IIT Delhi. Okay. Shit. Wait, someone is not from IIT Delhi. They go to IIT Delhi. I don't know. Okay, PSQL Postgres. Okay, it is not called PSQL. Postgres QL and Postgres QL. Cool. Postgres QL format. Cool. And now Darwin or sudo Darwin rebuild. Sudo Darwin rebuild. We have to give this command to switch to this new configuration, and the flake is right here in this current folder, and the username is walrus. Password for the computer, and this is building. Git tree is dirty because there are changes which we have not committed. Shit, you watch anime? Animalist.com. Theanimalist.com, my bad. Or dot something else. .net. What is your username? I forgot my username. While this is downloading, that is taking time. Okay. Favorite is a very heavy word. Here are all the enemies that I watched. Yep, Gintama is like pretty much at the top. Gintama, One Piece, and Gintama, One Piece was completed. A list of the enemies that I've completed. Hajime no Ippo is pretty cool. Hajime no Ippo and Assassination Classroom is good, but there are a lot of Parasite. Parasite the Maximum is very good. Parasite the Maximum is very good. Actually, very good. This takes time to load because there is some custom configuration on this page. Look at this. The mouse changed. Look at this. Angel Beats was pretty cool. Yep. Walrus 137. Fire Punch manga is very good. Shit. Parasite, Pancreas, Gintama, One Piece, Hajime no Ippo, Death Note, Parasite the Maximum, Tokyo Rangers because I read the manga and it was very good, and Your Name because it has to be there. Yep. Shit. Because I didn't study in the school, I was just watching anime. Lockdown. Wait, is PSQL working? PSQL version PSQL is working. Help. How do we connect? Option DB name. Local PSQL server. PSQL U Postgres. What is U? U specifies the default super user. U username, the database username. 5432, nothing is running, no such file or directory. Docker ps 5432. Postgres is running at 5432. Connection to server on socket. This failed, no such file or directory, but it is there. 5432, something is there. 5432. TCP connection. TCP connection. Shit, maybe we have to say that this is not a TCP connection, is a socket connection. Shit, this is crazy that they have a file in through which they communicate with each other, I guess. Wait, yo, Dom. I also completed Dragon Ball. Bleach, I didn't watch Bleach. Naruto is cool. Demon Slayer, Vinland Saga is cool. Manga, read the manga. Bleach, solo leveling, no. Okay, shit, why are you telling him in public? Yo, class, wait, your classmate. Shit, okay, you go on, discuss. Let me figure out how to connect to Postgres. You take the human race forward and reproduce. I will connect to Postgres. There is a thing running on 5432 and we get there. We cannot. run Postgres locally docker and connect to it. Name my Postgres, password 543254. This is what we do. Run in the background and use the Postgres image, and then to we connect to the database via terminal via the host machine. Yes. So here we have to give some other stuff here. H localhost and H localhost. But I guess that was not the problem, but okay. And username. I guess we are messing up with the username. Postgres. Shit, there is a GUI for PG. Postgres. And port 5432. Port 5. Oh. Password was password. Shit. Connection refused. Localhost. Fatal. Password authentication for user Postgres. Okay. Docker compose. Password is password. User is SCHECH. Shah. User Shah ACH and port is 543. Okay. This worked when we gave it this H command host. Okay. Host is Postgres. Host is Postgres. User is SHA SQL. Host Postgres. User SHA SHACH. Port 5432. Could not translate Postgres to address, node name, or node server. Something is running because it is asking for password but connection. Fetal. SHA. Database SHA. Okay, shit. SHA. Name of database is chess. Password for user chess. Chess is not a user. Password authentication failed for you. Okay. Here it said that database SHA does not exist, and so it was taking SHA as the database, but then when we gave it the name of for the database, it is saying that this is not being taken as the database name but as username. Crazy. Yo, hello. Good. Password was already taken by another user with this email ID. Please use another password. Life of whiteboarders in a nutshell. Shit. Yes, we remove everything. Create database in Postgres Docker image, or in the image itself or in the container. We give it the password and Postgres db equals mydb. Okay, let's remove everything else. Post. Yep. We will just give it the database name and the password. host, localhost, u, yes, localhost. There is no, we have to create, a user. How do we create a user? User Postgres. Connection at server this failed. Password authentication failed for Postgres. Postgres IT. Okay, I should not this. Password authentication failed. Okay, let's take some help from Claude. Okay, this is what we are getting. I have a Docker container running with port 5432 5432 5432 which is running Postgres, which is running Postgres, and the only inputs are wait. Yep, this goes in as environment variables. This goes in as environment variables. We are sending as environment variables. Let's see. This is the Docker compose running the container. How do I connect? How do I connect to this? Cool. The issue is localhost resolves to this, but Postgres in Docker is likely listening on IPv4. And password as the password from your compose. And okay, I'm using password as the password. Logs also Postgres when the line does not exist. No, the image does exist. The image does exist. Claude does not know. Okay. But I don't think this is a valid error because we don't listen on an IP address. We listen on a port, and IP is for identifying the computer, which we are already identifying as localhost, not stop, localhost. So this should not be a problematic thing. Yes, but the subtly here is the localhost is hostname that can resolve to either this or this, and these are treated as two different network interfaces by the operating system. When Postgres binds to IPv4 all interfaces, it only means IPv4 interfaces. It won't automatically also listen on this unless we explicitly say. Okay, so how to run the Postgres image and make it listen on both the ports IPv4 and IPv6. My views on AI and the future of engineers. I carry an optimistic view overall when it comes to this topic. Yep, me too. I think if I am good enough, then I will survive. I will get a job, or maybe I can become a doctor later on. And after getting financially stable in the next 3 to 4 years by getting a job in tech. But yep, learning is also pretty cool. If you are just getting scared and not doing anything just because you are scared, then you cannot even make the argument that I am not getting a job even though I am good, because you will not be good if you don't study. Like, do something. Okay, add Postgres auth method. Postgres service name image is this. I will use the latest one. Command is c listen address, or command is something that will run. Okay, we just have to add this command, listen address. C listen address. What is C? What is this? Is this equivalent to what is this equivalent to? Because this is not even defining an image like we do in Dockerfile. So this might be like the CM. Shit, this means the CMD thing in Docker. When we define a Dockerfile, at the end we define a CMD command, to give in what should run when the container starts. I guess this is what is happening. Pass a flag directly to Postgres server. Process Postgres inside the container. The Docker image entry point runs Postgres to serve the command in the compose appends. Okay, shit. Okay. The Postgres Docker file image is defining this one. We can like literally look at the Docker file. We are using this. It is defined here, and at the end it has CMD. Yep, CMD. It runs Postgres at the end, and when we give in this to our Docker compose file, this will just add -c listen address all after this command. Cool. So compose command -c listen address equals all. That is the thing. LISTEN yes, addresses RESS. Yes. Cool. Exactly. Learning is also the main thing for me. Whenever whatever comes next will be the outcome of all the data points, okay, that I have collected throughout my learning. All right, bro, I'll take my leave now. Okay. Right, comrade, and gotta do some assignment. It was fun. Yo, thank you for that. Thank you for 2 hearts, specifically 2. Okay, Docker compose build to build the new image with the new Docker stuff. Or we could have just built the Postgres image. Yeah, okay, see you too. That sounds bad, but okay. And this, the title of the stream is setting up CI/CD. We are just on the Docker step. Yes, that is the title. Final deployment, Docker CI/CD. Yep, click wait. We haven't even gone after the Docker step. Docker compose. First, we have to stop everything that was running down, and then Docker compose create to create the new containers. Docker compose start to start these containers, and PSQL Postgres, nothing running, host localhost, password. Okay, that was the problem. Okay, that was the actual problem. Now we are able to connect. And how do we see the databases? In Postgres, the command to see the databases is list with like this. Chess, let's go. Chess is a database there. Shit, the database does exist, but the database is there, but the tables are why not found. Source aliases this thing. If we close, restart, end. Yep, command is there now. Tool infra backend database setup.sql. Yep. We run all this, that would create all the database, all the users does not exist relation users table users relation references users id. Users does exist, like here we are creating user. Okay, we messed up. No, we didn't messed up. Create table, that must have created the table, I guess. How to see tables, list tables in Postgres database, and that is /d. And the current schema, just users table is there. Okay, and now all the tables are created. So what we want to do is run this command inside Postgres, create all the databases. I think that should be handled by the backend. That should be handled by the backend. And backend database we are using this Postgres library to connect to the backend. And And I guess we don't have to pass in everything that we are passing in. Postgres.js is what we are using. Supabase is something. npm install Postgres.js and connection is string, database URL, Postgres. Just pass in the connection is string, not too complicated. Which means we just have to pass in the base URL. That should work. The base URL with the password. Database underscore URL is going to be defined by docker compose, and here what is the format? URL format. The format is user is Postgres, password, then password, and then db name, maybe give an example, user, password, localhost slash user is Postgres, password is password. You can remove all these. Password is password, and at the rate, I don't think we need at the rate. We do need at the rate. Localhost 5432 is yes, and yes is the name of the database. That should be enough to connect. We can check connect to PSQL using connection string. PSQL and the connection string. PSQL. Okay, works. It works. The connection. No relation there, even though we just created a relation. There is a chess. Makes sense. We created the relations in the tables in the global scope, and we are looking for the tables right now from inside the chess database. So if we just copy paste all this here, cool. And we do /d/dt to see the tables, exit, and then connect to database again /dt. Cool. Everything is there. Okay, now the question is, so like, yeah, the string is okay, database URL string is okay. Yep. Database URL, this is what we are using to connect. This is okay. We have to see how to create database or like create the tables. At a startup, we would like to check if the tables are there. If the tables are there, then do not create the tables, and if they are not, then create the table. How do we check if a table exists or not? We can check by fetching something from the table. How long has it been? 2 hours 44 minutes. Feels quite long. Okay, and we can check by fetching something from a table, and if we get an error, then we can maybe conclude. Yep. Then we can conclude that the tables do not exist, and then we will create the table. But if we do get something, then we won't create the table. Ooh. In the backend, I guess we should make a git commit before this. Git status, we changed a lot of things. Wait, secret very, we do not want secret very to be visible. Git ignore secret slash everything. Cool, secret very is gone. We changed all of these things, and we can say that Docker files are completely ready. Docker compose file is ready. Yes. Added Docker compose works. Git push remain. Cool. Cool. And I guess we can continue the rest later on. I guess I will do another stream later on today. That would be cool, and we would set everything up then, the rest of the things. And so that would be it for now. And we created Docker files, Docker compose files. Now the thing that we have to fix is connect the Postgres database with the backend. That is not the problem. The backend can be connected to the Postgres. We just have to create the tables there when we are connecting to the database for the first time. Cool. And that would be it. Thank you for being here.